Came straight off the plane to the studio. It was so worth it. Randall Kaplan.
My job, I commute to work. I'd leave my house at 5:30 in the morning. I get to work at 7:30 in the morning, come back at 10, 11 o'clock, midnight. I was miserable, had no friends, had $3,000 in the bank, and had an idea that I wanted to learn from a CEO. I want to be a CEO's right-hand person. Had 3 jobs in 8 months, was a disaster, got essentially fired from 2 of those jobs. One was layoff. Everyone said, no one's ever going to meet with you. The CEO of Disney, she had 100,000 employees at the time, $50 billion public company, and there I am. I got meetings. Education, I think, is the best investment we can make on ourselves. Absolutely. And I took advantage.
Your best opportunities often come from your greatest disappointments.
Tenacity is everything.
Take it all.
Interviewed some of the world's greats, including Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, Jason Derulo, Dana White, Mike Tyson.
Mike.
Absolutely crazy. Ed Milet, one of my favorites.
The best.
What's the most uncomfortable thing you've had to do to get ahead?
I had an English teacher in the 11th grade, Gus Seeger, who pulled me aside and said, you don't have to give a speech, because I stuttered, and obviously I knew everyone was going to laugh, and your face gets red and you can't get a word out. And I said, no, I'm going to do it.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the $1 Million Branders podcast. Today we have a very special guest that I'm so excited to interview. Came straight off the plane to the studio. It was so worth it. Randall Kaplan. Such a legend in your own right. The legacy that you're building is huge. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful.
Thanks for having me. I'm grateful.
So for those of you who don't know Randall, you absolutely should. He's a serial entrepreneur, a venture capitalist, and a business leader with a track record of success across multiple industries. As the co-founder of Akamai Technologies, he helped revolutionize internet content delivery. He also is the founder and CEO of Jump Investors, a venture capital firm that has invested in more than 90 early to late stage technology companies, including Google, Seagate, and Lyft. And beyond venture capital, Randall is also the founder and CEO of Sandee, such an exciting company, the world's largest and most trusted platform for beach destinations, covering over 100,000 beaches in 212 countries. We're going to have to get you to Bondi Beach, though.
Top of my list.
Good. Soon.
That pool is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Icebergs. We'll get you there. He is also the co-founder and CEO of Thrive Properties, a real estate investment firm, and the owner and CEO of CollarCard, a leading promotional products company. A passionate advocate for excellence, Randall is the host of the top 10 business and entrepreneur podcast, In Search of Excellence. I've watched basically all the episodes. Guys, you got to jump on. Follow it. It's incredible. He's interviewed some of the world's greats, including Tony Robbins, Greg Kinnear, Gabby Reese, Gary Vee. The list goes on. Jason Derulo, Dana White, so many. Mike Tyson.
Mike.
Absolutely crazy. Ed Milet, one of my favorites.
The best.
Sam Zell. And for over 25 years, he has been a trusted advisor to more than 50 companies, a sought-after public speaker at top universities, and a mentor and professional coach to students, young professionals, mid-career executives, CEOs, and professional athletes in NFL, NBA, and NHL. With a relentless drive for innovation, Randall has a commitment to empowering the next generation of leaders. I know you've also got your internship program that we were speaking about briefly.
Yes.
So I would love for you to go into that later. But I just want to hear a little bit more about your story. I mean, I know a bit, the law background, but I love what you said, how your best opportunities often come from your greatest disappointment. So Randall, can you please tell us a little bit about your story? I know it, but for everyone listening who doesn't really know it, I'd love for them to hear.
Sure. I grew up in Detroit, divorced parents. I was always very motivated to do well. We talked a little bit before the show about, are you born with the entrepreneurial gene and the drive? And I'm grateful that I was. And for me, I wanted to be successful in life. And I thought, what's the quickest path to do that? And it was school. Education, I think, is the best investment we can make in ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I took advantage. I was fortunate to go to a private school in Detroit, rigorous private school, Detroit Country Day, and studied really hard there. And graduated magna cum laude in high school, and then I went to University of Michigan. And the crazy thing is, Michigan is a top 20 school, and when you get there, you're just so insecure that, I can't really do as well here as I did in high school. But my work ethic got me through, and I realized I could compete among very smart students. I graduated top 1% of my class, not because I'm the smartest person. If you're the smartest person in the room, I think you're in the wrong room. But I think the hardest work or work ethic is the greatest determinant to our success in the future. And I think that's certainly true in the classroom. And I tell this to all the students that I mentor: you can have the opportunity to get an A on every single test when you walk in if you do the work in advance. Then I went to Northwestern Law School. I had no interest in practicing law. It was a means to an end. I did not test well. And so on these standardized tests. So I got into my backup school, Northwestern, still a great school. All my friends with similar grades went to different schools, Yale, Harvard, Stanford, and I was lucky to get into Northwestern. I graduated at near the top of my class, top third of my class there, and I want to go to business school. But you had to work 2 years. I knew I wasn't going to test well, and that was not on the cards. So I practiced law for 2.5 years, had 3 jobs in 8 months, was a disaster, got essentially fired from 2 of those jobs. One was layoff, one was they wanted me to move down to Costa Mesa from Los Angeles. Full time after I lost my job, I commuted to work. I'd leave my house at 5:30 in the morning. I get to work at 7:30 in the morning, come back at 10, 11 o'clock, midnight. I was miserable, had no friends, had $3,000 in the bank, and had an idea that I wanted to learn from a CEO. I wanted to be a CEO's right-hand person. So I had an idea I was going to write all these letters to CEOs asking for informational interviews, not job interviews, and not a job. And it appeals to common sense that successful people, many of them, like to mentor people and like to share the stories, but you have to earn the meeting.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can't just send a letter. And I see students making this mistake all the time. I'm sure you see it. People write you're too busy to take a cold letter. But if someone writes a letter that's specific and will, I get some today. I've listened to 5 of your podcasts, 10 of your podcasts. They're getting facts in there. They know things about my background. I'll take every meeting for people like that. But I'm not going to take a meeting when someone is not going to do the work.
Absolutely.
So I had an idea. I was going to write a unique letter. There was no Google back then. There was something called LexisNexis. It was a database a law firm had to pay for. And I charged all these names to business development. I made a list of 300 top CEOs in Los Angeles, public companies, studios. You got to write it down. You got to track it. And then I researched all these people. And I would stay at the law firm late at night printing out stacks and stacks of periodicals, newspaper, magazines. And the second bedroom of my apartment was a letter writing factory. So I read through everything written about these people. I created a list. And it was a 3-page single-spaced letter. It was unique. It listed every job these people had, starting with working at Disneyland, 30 years ago before this person became CEO of Marriott. It had a cell phone cover page. It was wrapped one of those black 3-ring, the black plastic binders.
Yes.
It had my transcript from Michigan, law school, letters of recommendation. It had a cover page that was unique with a quote from the CEO that had sent maybe. Someone had said, the key to so-and-so company are our team. And that was one of the covers in cursive on the letter with Time magazine from 1985, for example.
Unbelievable.
And I got 80 meetings. Everyone said, no one's ever going to meet with you. The CEO of Disney, which had 100,000 employees at the time, $50 billion public company, and there I am. I got meetings. So I got 80 meetings. Eli Broad was one of the meetings. He was a Forbes 400 person in Los Angeles. He had started 2 Fortune 500 companies, one of only 3 people at the time who had done that. And long story short is I did a whole lot of work to get that job. I sent him the letter, got a call, Mr. Broad would like to meet with you, and when next week? So 40 hours preparing for that interview. I mean, I knew everything. It was a public company, everything about the financial statements. I mean, this is stuff I had no idea what they
Brilliant.
meant. I mean,
Yes.
pooling of interest accounting. You know, it took me 1 hour to figure that out. And there was a footnote in the financials regarding that. And I said, all right, well, let's ask very unique, detailed questions that no one has asked before. That's what everybody should do in every interview. Show the research. And I picked something very, very small in a footnote of page 95 of this public filing.
Yes.
And then I asked about it. And you could see it was like I was throwing jabs with my questions. And he's writing the names. He's writing down. He's scribbling on a notepad. When an interviewer scribbles on a notepad,
You
and
know
you're
it's a
asking them
good thing.
questions, the interview is going well.
Yes, 100%.
So you do more work, the more scribbles you get.
I'm just laughing because I couldn't agree with you more. I campaigned for my first job in advertising. You got to stand out, especially when there are hundreds and hundreds of people. But the level of detail that you're big on preparation,
Huge.
which I love.
It's
How
everything.
important is preparation? Because for people listening, you are so detailed and so prepared. And I know you're coming out with your book soon that we'll talk about later.
Right.
But
Extreme Preparation is the name of my book.
So great.
Extreme Preparation is a term that I've coined essentially, which talks about a new way to think, reorient your mind about what it means to prepare. So someone will prepare for a podcast 1 hour. I average 14 hours.
Yes.
I want to be the most prepared person who's ever stepped into any room. It doesn't mean if it's a sales meeting, if it's in a podcast, if it's a speech, I'm giving a TEDx speech in 3 months, 2.5 months, and I know I'm going to kill the speech. Why? Because I'm going to practice at least 250 times.
I love that.
I'm going to get a coach. I'm going to get a speaking coach. We're going to rent out a stage. I want to film. I want to look at every movement.
Yes.
Similar to how a professional athlete does, right? Or a golfer's got a coach. They're putting it on the computer. They're looking at it. Baseball pitchers, you put it on the computer. Is your fastball? Should you change the rotation on the pitch? I'm going to change the rotation on my speech.
Yes.
But extreme preparation is everything. I think it's one of the most important ingredients of your success. You can separate yourself from anybody else. Anybody else.
It's tied to excellence for sure, which I know you've got your podcast, but it is. Excellence and preparation are so interconnected. And it's how you show up. And I loved how you said, even when someone shows up for an interview, their style, how they look, if the tie is a little bit off, you look at that. So can we speak a little bit?
Yeah.
It applies to women too, I think.
Yeah. Well, first, in my podcast, I try to hit every guest with a torpedo with the first question. And that torpedo is meant to blow someone off their chair.
Yes.
And it is, you've shown you've done the research, and the reaction that people have, you can just see someone will make a comment right out of the gate. Wow, are you prepared? Or how'd you know that? Some question that gets the podcast off on just a different level. My guests all stay later because I just keep going throughout the podcast. Now, you asked a separate question about one of the things about preparation is you have to look in the mirror before you walk into a room, and it's shocking how many people don't do that. People come in for interviews and the hair is out of place. It's if you don't have the pride and self-reflection to go into a bathroom before a job interview and make sure your hair is neat.
Or off a plane at 6 a.m.
Or off a plane. I mean, you look amazing.
Australia.
I mean, you look great. 14-hour flight.
Am I put together here?
14-hour flight, but it's remarkable.
Yes.
I mean, there's 250 applicants for every job on average.
Yes.
So you're just looking for one little nit to say, okay, you're done. And if you can't present yourself in the first impressions, which matter to me or to whoever, because you don't look good, and I'm not talking about good-looking people, I'm talking about making yourself as attractive as possible, neat and clean. For men, this is one of the things that just drives me nuts, and it's an interview killer, which is men will come in a wrinkled shirt, unironed. If it's a collar stay, the shirt is, the collar's tilted up, it's sloppy. Or if they're wearing a tie, the tie is not all the way up there with a perfect knot, with no space between the tie. If there's space between the tie, you look sloppy. If your tie is crooked, you're sloppy. And that's just a crazy thing. If you don't believe me, go take a picture of your tie when it's not perfect, and go take a picture of a tie when it is perfect. Go find one on Pinterest or on YouTube. And if you don't know how to tie a tie, you better learn.
Absolutely. And I mean, we also, I was listening to you speak about eye contact and how you hold yourself even with that. how important is your presence when you walk into a room? Because you obviously give a lot of investment to entrepreneurs.
Right.
What do you look for, and what are the things, the key characteristics when it comes to investing in, let's call it entrepreneurs or companies? Let's say top 3. What are the things that you really look for that you go, wow, I've got to jump on these people?
Right. Okay. 2 separate questions.
Okay.
Eye contact. Right. When you meet someone forms an impression in 1 to 3 seconds. The studies show that. So it's a lot of things. It's, can you look someone in the eye? You don't want to look down. You don't want to be a staring person either, like something a little creepy. But you can't break that contact. You need the right handshake, for example. And there's 14 different kinds of handshakes. Where I'm going to talk about that on one of my podcasts. It's just crazy. The sweaty palm handshake is just the most gross, disgusting thing. And if you know you have sweaty palms, if you know you do, I think there's medication, and you should just dry your palms beforehand, because it's just disgusting.
Yes.
Separate from that, so it's posture, it's confidence, it's how you carry yourself. And again, we're all different people today now that we've had some success in business. I mean, when I started my career, nothing like today. I mean, I was more mature, I think, than the average person, just from meeting people and being around certain people my whole life. But definitely, it's a skill set that you should develop.
Yeah.
And the intangibles matter in a lot of cases more than the tangibles. It's fixing your hair, getting your tie right, looking someone in the eye. Don't give any employer any reason to knock you out of the interview or the job process.
Yes.
Now, in terms of people who come in and they're starting companies, what are the key ingredients of success?
Yes.
I think there's more than 3, but I think there's 3 that I'll point out. Tenacity is everything. I had a mentality, and I still have it. If someone dropped me off in the middle of the ocean, I'm petrified of sharks. I'm afraid of sharks in a lake.
Me too, actually. Don't go to Cape Town.
So, no, I know. It's the shark attack capital of the world. New Smyrna Beach is also the Cape Town of Los Angeles.
You could choose to swim with them too, but not for me.
I've done that before. Blacktip sharks in Bora Bora. Okay. And I figured, I'm going to get over my fear.
Yes.
And I don't think they're going to be doing this if it kills people.
Incredible.
So, but that's another story for another day. So, tenacity. If someone's going to drop me off in the ocean, I will find land. And we look for people like that. And you have to meet people in person, because on a Zoom you can't really tell, right? No. You want to look and feel and be in the room, energy, eye contact, how you carry yourself.
Yes.
So it's you have to try to determine and judge, does this person have the eye of the tiger? Are they a beast, for example? That's one. Work ethic is everything.
Yes.
I think that's probably the most important determinant of our success. And I've been around portfolio companies where people come in at 9:30, they roll on at 10, they leave at 5 and 6. I've seen competitors of those companies getting in at 7 in the morning and leaving at midnight. And without fail, people that work the hardest do the best. That's also true in terms of promotions.
Yes.
Right? If you're in the office longer, you're going to learn more. I'm not talking about FaceTime, by the way. I'm talking about sitting in the office. There's always more you can do.
I agree with that.
And I think, if you think about what is going to enhance your career as a founder or a leader, it's how you're adding value to companies. You always have to be thinking, how can I add value? And when it's your company, there's just a lot to manage. But work ethic, it's endless. I mean, I have a bunch of companies I'm involved with, my podcast now, there's always more work I can do. And I have 5 kids, and I have my philanthropy. So I think those are 2. I think the third one would be integrity.
Yes.
And it's how you carry yourself, right? You have to be truthful with people, your employees. I'm very direct and blunt with people. Not everyone loves that. That's my style at Sun America. Because it's not my job to bullshit people, right? And sure, entrepreneurs, we like to push the line on how well we're going to do and what the future looks like. I always, in our business models, I like to say, okay, I'm going to make projections, and I hope I'm going to beat those projections by very big numbers. Our real estate company, the first deal we did that we syndicated, we bought an apartment building in Long Beach with my partner, John. We prepared this beautiful presentation. We bought an old building, we fixed it up. We projected we're going to spend $40,000 per unit, new floors, new windows, everything, new counters, appliances, stainless steel. We projected we were going to do 28% rent increases post renovation. We did 47% rent increases, and we thought we were going to crush it, and we did. But I always like to under deliver. Promise,
over deliver. Yeah.
Over deliver.
Wow, excellent. And when it comes to under promising and over delivering, let's talk about cold calling, because I think that's quite interesting. And I know you're huge on this, and especially with AI and everything coming out now, I think there's a level of dehumanization in the sales culture. How important do you think it is to become good on the phone and good at cold calling in business?
I don't think it's important to be good at cold calling. I think it's important to be incredible at cold calling. Cold calling is everything.
Yes.
Right? You have to be able to, in whatever you're doing, be able to go up to someone and present your ideas or to sell. My first job in college was working at a company called Mural Stone Construction. I sat at a table. We had phone books back in the day, little thin pages. And my job, I sat on a headset and just called people. These were mostly older people, mostly 90% of people in Detroit couldn't afford the home improvements I was trying to sell them. And this is Randy from Mural Stone Construction. Do you need any home improvements today? That was my line over and over. 200 calls a day, 300 calls a day.
Wow.
And it really helps you get over your fear.
Yeah.
Now, I stuttered as a kid as well, and so I had a very hard time going up to people. It took me a while to even go to McDonald's and say, can I get a hamburger?
Wow.
So, but when I was in college, I sold T-shirts. People were selling these T-shirts, all kinds of cool T-shirts. My friend Brad Keywell, Happy Walters, these are amazing guys. Brad Keywell's on my show. And I said, okay, well, I can do that. And so I spent $500 of my bar mitzvah money, made 100 T-shirts, went door to door. I got kicked out of every single dorm, but it was great. I walked in, knocked on the door. I made very good money, cash, by the way, because no one was paying taxes as a student in the day. But I think it's really important. The summer program that we have, intern program, I spoke at Draper University years ago.
Yeah.
And Tim Draper has this thing where if you go to the university, you have to go out in San Francisco, go up to random people and sell Draper University condoms. So, hi. Can I sell you some Draper University condoms? And it's a great exercise, right?
Yes.
It's risque, it's uncomfortable. It's not like going up to someone and say, hey, can I sell you a health pass today and the line of Whole Foods? So for our summer program, I tell the interns, you have to go out to the beach and try to get 10 viral TikTok videos doing a Sandee dance. So what's a Sandee dance?
Puts them out of their comfort zone.
So yeah, I mean, all the interns are looking around and no one wants to do it. And at first we made it, okay, you don't need to. Now it's part of the mandatory program, which means you got to do some crazy funky dance and, do all this crazy stuff. Go up to people at the beach who don't even want to look at you.
Yeah.
Right? You're a stranger, annoyance, you're weird. And you got to get people. Now you got to do it. And yours has to be so crazy that you can get them to do a crazy one as well. And what we say is we want the dance to be so crazy that you're going to get 10 million views on this video. So we all tell the students, go out in the parking lot, we practice. People walk from the parking garage into our building, look at what's going on with these people here, what's happening here, and they're so uncomfortable, and they'll do these dances, and I'll bark at them. No, like that is not funny at all. That's ridiculous. You're really going to get someone to do a dance like this, and everyone dreads it. Yes. It's probably the best experience they have in the summer.
Long run. Yeah.
It just breaks it down, and there's a lot of shy people, and the ability to go up to somebody who you don't know, especially people who don't want to hear from you, and be able to get them to do something physically that's crazy, that's a great experience.
Because, I mean, I know I was so shy. I wouldn't even open my mouth. So I know you had the stutter.
Yeah.
And it's something that you pull through. But I love how you pull people out of their comfort zones. What's the most uncomfortable thing you've had to do to get ahead in business?
In business?
Or life. Something that really broke you down to go, this is my next level.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of times with the stutter that I remember that were just painful. I had an English teacher in the 11th grade, Gus Seeger, who pulled me aside and said, you don't have to give the speech, because I stuttered, and obviously I knew everyone was going to laugh, and your face gets red and you can't get a word out. And I said, no, I'm going to do it. And I did it, and I stuttered throughout the whole thing, and everybody laughed, and people get nervous for the speech, but I mean, my heart was, if their heart was pounding, mine was exploding, right? Because I knew everyone was going to laugh and everyone was going to make fun of me, and there's Randy again doing it. So I think, when I look back at the experiences that I've had, I think that was a big one. Losing my job, came to LA, graduated, I spent all this time studying and top of my class, and came to LA and was fired 5.5 weeks after starting a job as a law firm. My firm was laying off people, and it turns out I had a very bad boss who was very jealous that the managing partner of the firm gave me tickets to the Raiders game.
Yeah.
And he came to me, what was that meeting about? I said, Howard gave me tickets to the game. He said he did. I said, yeah. And he was jealous that the managing partner gave me tickets and not him. So it's you see things that are unfair, but when I lost my job and had very little money in the bank, was I going to go back to Detroit, where I was a summer clerk, to the best law firm in Detroit by far?
Yes.
Take the easy way out? And I said, no, I'm staying. I'm going to make something of myself here. I'm going to prove it to myself that I'm going to do it. I'm going to get to where I want to go.
I love it.
And I think all those, the drive down to Orange County every day. I'd see Suge Knight at the bagel store 3 mornings a week. 5:30 in the morning, bagel store opened at 5:30 in the morning. I'd get there like 5:28, 5:29. The bagels were smoking hot. I would eat it. In fact, they were so hot I had to wait. The sesame seeds are crumbling all over my car on the way. But you do that, and it helps make. I remember my mom coming into town one weekend. I think she was coming in on a Friday night. We had dinner at a Chinese restaurant in Beverly Hills, and we were doing, one of our clients was going public. Office was in Orange County, so I had to be there. So I drove from Orange County to Beverly Hills at 7 o'clock. I got there at 8:30, a little late for the dinner. At 10 o'clock, I had to turn back, could drive down to Costa Mesa again to the printer. Company's going public. You're there all night long. I was there till I think 7 in the morning.
Wow.
And then I drove back to sleep a few hours, and then I had to drive back. And I think that was a low point in my legal career.
Yeah.
I said, I already didn't want to be a lawyer, and then when you go through something like that, you're like, I'm fucking done. Like, I need to do something quicker and get out quicker.
And I love how you say anything is possible, because I do think your work is part of you, and it's part of your life, and it's part of who you become. And if you don't love it, you've got a major problem. So thank you for the inspiration.
Yeah. If you would ask me or anybody,
yes,
can some loser lawyer who lost her job 5.5 weeks, then went down to a law firm in Costa Mesa driving, where the managing partner said, you've got to move or leave, that had 3 jobs in 8 months coming out of law school, that's got to be a record. If I was going to get a job working for Eli Broad, one of the most successful business people on the planet, as his right-hand person to learn from him and his management team, people have said, you're out of your mind. But I believed it. Every single person said, these people are never going to meet with you. You're ludicrous. It's a complete waste of time, and it's stupid.
Wow.
And I had it in my mind. They were going to meet with me. I don't listen. And when someone tells you can't do something, I think that should be motivation, drive, totally 100%,
do it. 100%. You and I are on the same page with that. But Randall, let's talk about entrepreneur versus the project or product. So how do you weigh the importance between each when it comes to investing in a business?
The entrepreneur is much more important than the product. Awesome. I would rather invest in a company that has a B product and an A+ founder than a B+ founder, a B founder, and an A+ product. Because the most important determinant of a startup success is the founder or founding team, and then the team itself that the founder can build around them. We had a portfolio company, which I won't name. Great company. It was doing 150 million page views a month. So it was 15 years ago. The CEO was average. I come in, I join the board. I thought he is not the right CEO long term. And I was close to a friend of mine who was the perfect CEO to come in and join the company. Would have been successful with him. It's one of those things, you don't want to be the heavy hand who comes to the board right away and says, you can be COO, but not CEO, because there is a difference, huge difference. COO can execute, maybe not as good leadership skills. And I would go to venture capital meetings with our CEO. I walk out of there thinking, oh my God, that's not good if you can't raise capital. And I would have to fill in for a lot of the things he couldn't explain. And so great product, average CEO, take the founder a million times out of a million more important than the product. Obviously, we want both, but if you're asking me to choose one, founder all day long.
Really cool. Thank you so much. If you are enjoying this episode, if you have gotten value from this episode and it has changed your life by teaching you things, I'm going to ask you a huge favor. If you would subscribe, like, follow, and share with people so we can bring more incredible guests to the $1 Million Branders podcast to serve you better, so you can make more money in your business, in your life, and accelerate your growth into becoming the $1 Million brand that I know is possible for you. Thank you, and my greatest appreciation to you. And if you could sit down with your 12-year-old self and show him one moment from your life, which moment would it be and why?
Oh man, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, probably the stuff I've done to give back, because at the end of the day, we can all do well if we try.
Yes.
Right, if you put in the work.
Great.
You have some kind of smarts. You can be successful going to work at a company. You don't have to be a billionaire. I mean, I think there's this thing today where you read about all these founders. I got $1 billion valuation. I've got this. I've got that. I think people do need to realize you can make $100,000 a year, be successful and happy. But I think the charity things that I've done, raising money for Bedside Legal Services, Imagine LA, which is a homeless charity.
Amazing.
And then my grandmother, I got a scholarship for. She was raised in foster care. And then being able to provide a new life, new education for someone living in her car in high school to becoming a successful public speaker, social worker, mother, homeowner. I think that's definitely the proudest moment of my life.
Very incredible. And if tomorrow you had to start over from zero, so no connections, no network, no resume, what would be your first move?
Starting over. I think it depends what age you're talking about starting over, because I think you're a different person, obviously, at 13 and 18. And
let's talk about 35.
Starting over at 35?
Yes.
Well, by 35, some material percentage of people have a family.
Yes.
Right? And you don't have to have a family to be successful. I have 5 kids. I have an amazing wife. I have a family. It's very important to me. And I've done well. It's not a secret that I'm wealthy, and I've done well, and we have a beautiful home, and we have a vacation home. But at the end of the day, if I lost all my money, we had to live in a 2-bedroom apartment, I'd still be happy as long as I have my family.
Incredible.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I mean, I've seen so many people start over at 35. Most successful salesman in history, Joe Girard. Joe Girard was kicked out of high school, thrown out of the Navy, worked as a stove installer, home contractor, fired from every job he'd ever had, walked into a car dealership in the city of Detroit at age 35 and begged for a job. Sold the car on his first day, second day. He went on to sell 13,001 cars in 13 years, made the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's greatest salesman. So here he is at 35 years old, biggest loser on the planet, and he ended up being the most successful salesperson ever.
It's incredible.
Anyone,
you can do it.
Anything is possible.
Do you think at any age it's same thing applies?
I think at any age, I think it is more difficult as we get older because we have habits. And I do all this coaching now. And one of the main things of my coaching is executive coaching, and I'll tell people, I'll say, you got to get rid of these old habits. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Got a call from a home builder the other day. He wants to raise capital for these homes he wants to build. He doesn't know what to do. And I'm sitting there talking to him for 30 minutes. And I said, you should go to every real estate broker in Coeur d'Alene, meet them, take them to lunch. You should be making 5 calls a day, setting up meetings every day. And you should do this for 3 months. And he says, well, I know some brokers. And he's 32 years old. I said, some is nothing. All is everything.
Love it.
And I was trying to train him to think of a new way, because it's a numbers game.
Yes.
Just like we talked about, the cold calling is a numbers game. The apply for the job is a numbers game.
And I loved how you were speaking about, there may be 99, but there's that one that's going to say yes to you.
Yeah, and I think I told you, I mean, it was a funny story that my dad said.
Yeah,
he said it.
Profound.
He was saying, he said if you ask 100 women out on a date, and it was an X-rated thing, it wasn't a date, and 99 women say no, you're going to feel pretty crappy about the first 99, but when somebody says yes and you're in the bedroom with someone, you're going to feel pretty good about yourself.
You remember the one. I love it. When was the last time you truly felt out of your depth? And what did you learn from it?
It's interesting. I was just in Aspen, and the first time I felt really out of it, and I just want to share this with you because it's a crazy story, and I just filmed it on my phone again, that I was in Aspen as a third-year law student with my girlfriend, who was from Boston with a very wealthy family. They had a home there. And I didn't really have the right clothes. We went to this party on Red Mountain, this spectacular $10 million home back then. Now it's $50 million. And I remember feeling out of place. I don't belong here. I'm not confident. And I went to the bedroom practically crying, called my mom and said, I don't feel very insecure here. I just don't get it. And she said, I just don't have the right clothes. Everyone's so sophisticated. She said, go back out there. You've got it. And I actually went back out there and I met some CEO who was CEO of a public company that had sold to another public company in Detroit. When we had studied that company, I had a Business Week subscription since I was 13 years old. I knew everything about the company.
Wow.
And she was looking at me saying, oh my gosh, how do you know all this stuff? And I felt, okay, well, I felt a lot better. I walked out of there more proud. But in terms of my modern career today, I mean, I get uncomfortable a lot. I'm in these settings and someone's talking about neuroscience and I'm making it up. I have no idea what they're talking about. I'm the only one in the room who doesn't know what they're talking about. And I don't view myself as a technologist, even though I've made a career in technology and doing very well.
Yes.
I'm the first person who will call my CTO to fix a problem on my computer, that it's not working or the sound is out or something stupid like that. And I feel out of place on a regular basis. But I do when that happens, I do like learning. And I think it's an opportunity to improve and get better, because I don't want to be uncomfortable. I want to be the most prepared person. Sometimes you just find yourself in a social setting where you're the only one. I mean, I was at dinner the other night with my friend Mike, and he put together this cool dinner with all these really cool people. One was a DJ and one was on the social scene here, and Mike knows everyone. He's a really great guy. And I was the only one who didn't really know what was going on. I mean, all these people knew each other, and I was just asking questions timidly.
Yeah.
I want to know, oh, well, what was that? Where did you work? What club was that? Tell me how the whole thing works. So I felt uncomfortable, but after a while, settled in and shy at the beginning, and then kind of got into it. I'm having lunch with one of the guys next week.
That's nice. How do you think it's important to get uncomfortable?
I do think it's important to get uncomfortable. I mean, we all get uncomfortable at work, right? At some point, your boss is going to say something to you and you're going to be very uncomfortable. You're going to walk out of the office. Oh my gosh, what did my boss think? That anxiety is just terrible, by the way.
Yeah.
We've all been through that. But I think, I think it's important to be uncomfortable, because I think you have to learn to succeed in uncomfortable environments.
Definitely. I tend to agree with that. I think that's how I built my career. But legacy is a loaded word.
Yeah.
If your great-grandchildren could only inherit one lesson from your life, what would you want it to be?
Anything is possible.
Love it.
I mean, and it really is. And you look at all the craziness that's going on in the world, and I don't want to get political, but countries massive genocide, they're born into poverty, they have no hope, no future, and we live in, I think, the greatest country on earth. You are from Australia, it's another great country, but we have freedom.
Yeah.
And we have the ability to do anything we want to do here and build whatever we want to do. So it's the lucky gene pool. But hopefully we'll continue to have freedom, and my great-grandchildren will have freedom, but anything is possible.
Great. So good. And Randall, in moments of doubt or decision paralysis, do you have a mantra or guiding principle that anchors you?
I mean, there are so many of these moments. I'm grateful to have a very close circle of friends I can go to with the most difficult moments. And it's obviously my wife. Two of my best friends, I had two co-best men at my wedding. I'll go to both of them. And depending on what the situation is, I'm just very lucky. I think you earn friendships.
Yes.
And I think I'm 56 years old. I'm still friends with high school buddies who've been, that was 45 years ago now. When you think about it, it's great to be able to call on people to support you.
Definitely. Is there something that you tell yourself in those difficult moments, though?
Everything's going to be okay. It's never as bad as it seems. And I think 99% of the time, I think that's the case. But you're going through it, it still doesn't bother you. It still bothers you. It still keeps you up at night. You still have anxiety about it. I've learned to go through on walks, thoughtful walks, put your phone down, take a 10-minute walk. I try to meditate. I'm not very good at that, but you obsess over these things. But at the end of the day, and after just being around so many years and circumstances where things weren't going right, if you look back, were they ever as bad as you thought they were going to be?
Yes.
Rarely.
Or they build your character.
They do. I mean, tough time. I think we all have to go through tough times to be successful. I think failure is an important part of success. I think failure is one of the great motivators, but it's also an essential ingredient to becoming successful, because if you haven't failed, I don't think you really know how to win.
Absolutely. That is so good. That's a t-shirt right there.
Let's trademark it.
That is, absolutely. And how do you value the intangible assets of a business you look to invest in? So company culture, senior management, soft skill set of C-suites.
It's everything. Companies that have great cultures succeed more than the other companies do. You have to have leadership at the company. If you don't have good leadership, no one's going to want to follow you. I met with a company a month ago. The CEO was probably the most arrogant, offensive person I've ever seen in 30 years of looking at investing in companies. And I told him very bluntly, I said, you're never going to succeed. And he said, why? And again, I'm blunt. He's coming in to ask me for money and relationships and mentorship. And I'm happy to give it if someone earns it. But in this case, it was so off-putting. And he came in with one of my former employees, who's now a great friend, who's now mentoring my son. His name is Ricky Horowitz. And I'll do whatever I can for friends or people that have worked with me throughout the years. I'm very loyal. Loyalty is very important in our success. And so Ricky brought him in, and I think he kind of brought him in for some of my tough medicine. And I said to him, I said, Avi, you are offensive. You're never going to hire a team. No one's going to want to work with you. His best friend was in there, was also his Ricky, Max, and this person. And I told them all, I said, this partnership that you guys have is not going to work out. 3 weeks later, they were now talking to each other. It didn't work out.
You can just see it.
You can just see. And I think, you said to me before, one of your questions was, what do you look for? Sometimes people just walk in and you know it. Right? It's like the mouth is going, but you already know I'm in. And it's just, some people have that special sauce, some don't. It's very rare that you do. But at the end of the day, you still got to go through all the metrics, all the tests, checks, and balances, and look at things like culture, leadership, team, And then we can talk about product all day long and the other things, but I think it's critical.
Really interesting. And as you know, we focus on branding on this podcast and the value of a brand and also how to create brand excellence. But on that basis, how important is brand in a business?
Well, first of all, congratulations on your success.
Thank you so much.
I know at 24 years old, you started this incredible company, so I think that's amazing.
Thank you so much.
I think branding is critical. I mean, you know this as well. You got to do something that's memorable.
Yes.
Our beaches company, Sandee, we created a company for the $5 trillion a year beach tourism market. We've cataloged over...
Love the brand, by the way.
Thank you. We've cataloged over 120 categories of data for more than 140,000 beaches in 212 countries. I thought, okay, what is a good name? First, we looked online and we said, all right, beach.com is owned by a hotel company, and there's another guy that owns beaches.com, or maybe the reverse. Beaches.com is owned by a hotel company, vice versa. So, okay, that obviously would be a great name. It's taken. The hotel company is never going to sell the name. The guy that owns beaches.com, very unrealistic expectations, done nothing with the name, but obviously it's millions of dollars. As a startup, we don't have that to spend. If we had raised $100 million for Sandee, which we haven't, we're venture backed, great investors, we're raising capital right now, which is cool and going well, then maybe we could spend $5 million on the name. But I said, okay, what's a memorable name? And we thought, okay, our first domain name was findthesand.com. And so that was what this was called. And then I thought, how about Sandee.com? And so we looked at Sandee.com with a Y, and we didn't like that name. We could have bought it, but Sandee was at that time the worst natural disaster hurricane in American history. It had a negative connotation. So I said, okay. So then I thought, well, what about Sandee with two E's? I said, all right. So we looked at that domain name. That name was owned by a woman named Sandra Swanson in Aurora, Colorado, who I started calling with interns, saying we have this project and we don't have any funding for it and we would like to buy the name. She was a real estate agent who had that name. And she said, oh no, and I do a lot of business. I don't think she'd sold a home in 20 years, but she had a website there and her husband had bought it 4 years before as a gift for her birthday at something. So I said, okay. I kept coming back to her throughout the years. It took 7 years to buy that name.
Wow.
Kept in touch with her every year. She was worried that I was going to turn it into a porn site. She didn't know kind of who I was, and I tried to explain to her who I was. So we love the name. It is memorable. It's different. I think the two E's is more stylish than the Sandee with a Y. We do have to explain to people it's SANDEE.com. But we've branded the company doing well. Our promotional products company, CollarCard, we make a patented product called a CollarCard. It's a credit card sized piece of plastic with 4 collar stays reusable in the card for men's shirts. And we have the ability to put a brand in a man's wallet. So we came up with the trademark, stays in your wallet. And that's a very cool name. And so we trademarked the name. I think branding is very, very important to our success. We always look at it. I'm big on colors. I'm big on simplicity. I think you need to present your company in a very clean way. And as a VC, it's amazing to me how many people come in with ugly presentations. They're dark, they're heavy.
So glad, listen everyone.
I mean, this is the kiss of death too. If you're an entrepreneur and you don't know how to prepare a PowerPoint and you can't go online and there's 10 million PowerPoints online from the most successful VCs, Sequoia, Andreessen Horowitz, everybody has PowerPoints online. You can go find the PowerPoints online for companies like Airbnb and all these other companies. But it's amazing how many terrible PowerPoints I get.
Especially when they have a short time to get in front of you, you got to grab attention.
This is what a lot of founders don't get. If you've seen hundreds of business plans or thousands of business plans, which I have, I was trying to figure it out the other day, how many, And it's
How many do you think it is?
2,000 to 5,000. No idea.
Crazy.
Well, I have some idea. It's somewhere in that range. Experienced investors, 10 seconds.
Yes.
10 seconds. Fluff, fluff, fluff. Okay. And if it's really good, then I'll spend maybe a minute on it.
Yes.
Because I'm going to get the PowerPoint. I'm going to take the meeting or not take the meeting. I'm not taking the meeting because I don't like either the PowerPoint or I don't like the product or I don't like something else there. But you got to nail that one right out of the gate. And if you can't present your idea in a clear, concise matter on paper that anybody can understand. I call this my grandmother standard. My grandmother passed away at 104 years old.
Wow.
And
what a life.
Never had a phone, never had a computer. Left high school at 16 years old to go sell. She was raised in foster care, didn't have any money. But the grandma standard is from the cover page to the last page. And if your PowerPoint is 12 pages, 30 pages, anybody with no experience in any field should be able to read every single word on every single page, on the last page, the last word of the last page, understand everything there is about that company and what someone is pitching. And it's shocking to me how many entrepreneurs cannot get that right.
I love that you're saying this.
Every draft. So our PowerPoint for Sandee, we're raising capital right now. It's going really well. 50 iterations. 50.
But that's like where you need to be, right? That's what if you want to be excellent, that's what you need to do.
If you want to be excellent, that's what you have to do. Extreme preparation.
I love it. I can't wait to read your book. And as a successful investor, what does brand mean to your investment strategy?
What do you mean?
So when you are putting together a company, how much of it goes into developing the brand strategy? I know that we've discussed Sandee and a couple of other things.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the 50 iterations. And for people listening, how much time should they be investing in just that? So presentation and also verbal presentation before they go meet with investors.
Yeah.
Because I think you said about 40 hours prep, like just for a podcast or for something.
14 for a podcast,
14,
but for an important meeting, and we had a meeting with Marriott 3 years ago. I think we were prepared 100 hours.
Yes.
The PowerPoint, I think we went through 80 drafts. We rehearsed the meeting. It's very important. So how much time should people prepare for a meeting? Yeah. The average person prepares 15 to 30 minutes for a meeting. You spend 30,000 hours from kindergarten through high school, and you can't spend an hour preparing for a meeting or 40 hours preparing for a meeting that can change your life forever, that will determine what your life looks like forever.
That's so great.
It's crazy. So I think you need to spend the time to do it. You asked about branding. There's a difference between founding a company and being an investor in a company. As an investor, you basically have no say in what happens in the company. Obviously, you want to be a helpful investor, and I am a very helpful investor from experience. It's one of the reasons I can get into some very good deals. And often the CEOs will call you, well, what do you think? What do you think? Generally, though, you put your money in as an investor in these VC deals, and the average VC deal, you may not get your money back for 7 to 10 years if the company doesn't go bankrupt, and 7 of 10 companies goes bankrupt, which is not fun. If people think, oh, it's so sexy, it's such a great business. Well, you feel pretty stupid when you invest $1 million in a deal and then you lose it. That's not good. So as a founder, you control the brand. As an investor, unless you're on the board, where you do have a say, the CEO reports to the board. That's what a lot of founders or would-be founders know. A would-be founder has a boss. They have a board of directors. They report to the board. It may be your company, but at some point, a founder, when they raise more capital, each round of capital gets a board seat. And at some point, the investors have more board seats than the founder, so the founder really better do a good job, or the founder may not be there.
Absolutely. So true. And lastly, Randall, what is $1 million brand to you?
What is $1 million brand to me? I think $1 million. First, let's start with what is $1 million. Back when I was growing up in Detroit, millionaire was everything.
Yes.
Everything. Today, it's different.
It's like, can you buy a garage?
Today, it's interesting. I have friends in New York. I have one friend in New York making $1 million a year. I said, oh gosh, it's incredible. Well, he lived in the suburbs, had a 4-bedroom house. He had 3 kids. You're living in New York. You've got federal tax, state tax, city of New York tax. So you're taking home 50% is $500,000 after. He's got a mortgage. He's got 3 kids in private school, and he's got cars, and obviously they take vacation. So $1 million isn't what it used to be, but it still is what everybody thinks is the ultimate success. And that's what it means to me. That's what it meant when I was younger. If you have $1 million today, you really, really made it. So to create a brand worth $1 million, first of all, it's genius branding on your part. I love the name. I love the brand. And I think it's everything.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I'm so grateful that you were able to make time for the podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. Couple of things. Got you a gift.
Okay.
So I thought this was that's just a little card you can read later.
Okay.
It's from Bondi Beach.
Oh, I love it. By the way, this is insane. This is insane. So my kids will make fun of me for this. Well, my kids do make fun of me for this, but I have the trademark Mr. Beach. I am the world's foremost beach expert. Okay. And so when my kids really want to make fun of me, oh, Mr. Beach. That sounds silly, but I am.
I'll just quickly change it in the card.
So people will ask, what's your favorite beach? And at Sandee, our trademark is choose your beach, right? I have young kids, food, bathroom, and a shower. We have free parking, paid parking. Yeah. Everyone said, what's your favorite beach? One of my favorite beaches, and what I tell people, it doesn't matter what my favorite beach is because every beach is different.
Yes, so true.
Right? There's 42 beaches in Malibu, for example, and no one knows that answer. I ask the average person, they say 12 to 14. They're all different. Bondi Beach is one of my favorite beaches, even though I've never been there.
Sure, you're not saying that just because
I'm not saying that.
It's because I came so far.
There's a brand I love, Orlando Brown. I'm not sure if I said it or not. They're very cool swim trunks.
Okay.
There's a picture of Bondi Beach on one of them. These are very cool trunks that I just bought.
We'll have to get you to Iceberg.
Last week.
You come for the real thing.
I mean, it's on my list. So I've never been there, but it's one of my favorite beaches. As you know, they have this incredible pool. Everyone takes these photos.
We're gonna have to do that. We're bringing you over.
I'm coming.
Sandee over.
I'm coming. I'll come with my drones. I travel with 2 drones wherever I go.
Oh, amazing. We're gonna do it. We'll bring out the Escalades. And also, guys, how beautiful is this? So would you mind signing it for me?
Oh, that's amazing. So this is
so much.
A passion of love. And I just want to make this is a motivational story for people. So anything is possible. I am a drone photographer. I started buying drones when I started filming beaches. And I said, okay, and I saw some drone photos that people had done. I said, oh, these are remarkable. So I learned to fly a drone. And now I travel with 2 drones wherever I go on a beach vacation. I started making all these photos. And so people really liked the photos that I made. And so
beautiful.
And so so here's Santa Monica Beach is just one, and I think amazing. I have
now 15, we definitely need to get you to Bondi.
15 countries in here, but I thought, all right, there was one person named Gray Mallon who is an amazing photographer who has a book called Beaches, which I love and which I've gifted to people. And as I looked around, I thought, okay, why is there only one drone beach photography book? There's got to be room for another one.
Yes.
So I found out who his publisher was, Abrams Publishing, and I called up the CEO. I sent an email to the CEO. I gave him a little bit of my background, which helps people respond.
Yes.
And so I said, and I sent him a link, and he wrote back. He said, I think your photos are beautiful and they're great, but too competitive with Gray. Most people would have stopped it there. Right, 99.9999% of the people stopped it there.
Randall kept going.
You should never stop there.
Love it.
No means in the future, it could likely be a yes if you're persistent and you think about ahead and you think about the goal in mind. Write down your goals. Think about them every day. Write them down. Look at them every day. So I said, do you have 15 minutes for a call on Monday? I'd like to learn about the book business. I knew it was not going to go 15 minutes because I had done my homework on Michael.
Yes.
So you do your homework, the meeting goes longer, an hour. And I learned how the book business works. And at the end of the meeting, I said, do do you have any recommendations to make introductions for me to publishers who may be interested in publishing my book? He gave me 2 names. Can't remember the first name, they blew me off. The second name, Cameron Books, and I think 3 weeks later, I signed a book contract with Cameron Books to produce my book. So
High five. Good
high
work.
five. So
That's what we do.
I have friends in Hollywood, at CIA,
Amazing.
Endeavor. They said the story is insanity. To call up a book publisher without an agent to say, I want to make a book,
Yes.
to the CEO who directs you to another CEO to get a book signed, they said is 1 in a billion. But it happened because I didn't.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Here's my book list. We sold over 10,000 copies, and
It's so great.
it's a great gift instead of bringing a bottle of wine to somebody's house
It's so great.
because it's unique.
It's absolutely beautiful.
The pictures are all bright, colorful. Beaches make people happy.
They do, definitely.
And
Especially when you come all the way from Australia at 6 a.m. in the morning.
you're amazing,
Straight
by
to
the
the
way.
podcast.
The fact you did that is amazing.
Thank you so much.
This is so fun for me.
Do you normally draw, do art?
No, I don't. But I love art.
I can do a stick figure for you.
Oh yeah.
That's oh, and by the way,
You don't
the
want me
Tim
to.
Tams, where are they?
Those are right by your
Oh, okay. So yeah, you guys are gonna have to eat some of these. So Australian Tim Tams, for those of you who don't know. So the trick with these is you've got to put them in coffee or hot chocolate,
Okay.
and then eat it. So there's white and dark.
I love this.
They're amazing.
Trying to stay
cut
fit.
down.
I've got all these amazing guys
That-
on my show, like Dana White, Dave
And then you meet
Asprey, Andy Elliott, man.
It's worth
Andy,
the
I'm sorry,
carbs.
but
It's worth the carbs.
okay.
It's worth the carbs, Andy.
It's so thoughtful of you.
Oh, of course.
And I think there's one more point here that I would like to make as well. That's a
Sure.
great teaching moment for people. I think when people do things like this, others will remember it forever.
Oh, I'm glad.
It's generous, it's unnecessary, and because most people don't do it, you stand out.
That's so
And
nice.
I've
Thank you
received
so much.
amazing things from people throughout the years that nobody else does. And you remember every single one of them.
Oh,
So
thank
I
you
appreciate
so
this so much.
And time is very valuable, so I appreciate you too
Oh.
and doing the pod, but we'll definitely collaborate and I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
I don't believe in accidents when you meet people. I think
Likewise.
it's synergy. So
It's
thank
amazing.
you so much.